All right, welcome to the At Bat Baseball Podcast presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news, as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez. I'm here with Miles. How are we doing today, man?
Doing good. Another great week of baseball, man. I'm loving this.
Oh yeah, it's intense. We love a lot of baseball, but also a lot of controversy. I guess it's good for us. We got a lot of talking points, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
we got a lot to cover today. Today we'll start with the Cubs. We'll start on the north side of Chicago, where the 7-9 Cubs. They last week they played the Rays and the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it did not go well. They're 7-9 right now, and they lost the series to the Rays 2-1, and then they lost the series to the Pirates 3 games out of 4. They're struggling, losing 5 of their last 6. Obviously, they had that 21-0 whooping on Saturday. Um, but even then, it was still not enough to win a series. Seiya Suzuki, of course, continues to be Seiya Suzuki. It was cool to see guys like Alfonso Rivas, 5 RBIs. But it was tough to see the Cubs go down like that in a series. What are your overall thoughts on that series? And what could the Cubs have done better?
It's very interesting with this Cubs team because we kind of we can't really know what to expect with certain series. So going into this one, I was expecting them to take this series, especially at home. Um, but I'll say specifically in that last game, I saw a lot of swing and misses. And swinging misses at pitches that are right in the zone. Now I know pitchers like Bednar are bringing it 90, 98 plus. But at the same time, I think they were brought back down to earth on Sunday for sure. As fun as that was to see on Saturday, and I was gonna go to that game, but I don't know why I didn't do it. I was like, oh, I'll go on Sunday instead. All right.
Missed history by a day.
Look, yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go on Sunday. I mean, that worked out terrible. Um, but I think it's just the approach. This is the approach of some of the guys. Um, you see a lot of success with Suzuki because he's a very patient hitter. He's a very mature hitter. He knows what he wants. Every at bat, he has a plan. When I'm watching some of our guys go to the plate, Patrick Wisdom sometimes, even Wilson Contreras, it feels like there's not much of a plan going up there. More so just, I'm going to swing and, we'll see what happens instead of, let me try to work the count a little bit, put the ball in play, hit it hard somewhere. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to say I'm disappointed in what I saw this weekend because we really can't expect too much out of them, but you know, not too surprised at the same time. We got to be kind of patient with these boys.
Yeah, and it's like you talking about swing and miss approach, like or swing and miss, like what they were doing on Sunday. It's for the early season, or as early as it is, it's out of character for this Cubs team as they are, one of the best offenses in the game, early, but just as what they are, they, they have been a team that hasn't swung and missed a lot, but yeah, on Sunday we did see a lot of that, and man, that David Bednar guy, I mean, he's like he's the real deal because
Yeah.
he was really good last year and he's taken it over to this year and he's
Mm-hmm.
just got great stuff. But apparently he just hates the Cubs
Yeah.
because there was of course in the high five line was just like
Mm-hmm.
saying F the Cubs over and over again.
Saying F
Uh,
them. Like, all right,
I'm like, all right, man, okay.
cool.
But it is what it is. The defense also was a little shaky over the weekend. I know
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan VR had a couple errors. The Cubs have 7 errors in total. 4 of them are from VR. And when they asked David Ross about it, I mean, he was saying, basically, they only have so many guys to put there. Obviously, Simmons is injured. They have a
Yeah.
couple other injuries. Another thing I wanted to say about the whole approach thing is I really do like Alfonso Rivas. I feel like he's underappreciated. Like when he goes up there, he's the type of guy that I feel like always has a plan. And ever since I saw it last year, I was very impressed with that guy. So I really hope he stays up here and just keeps getting in the lineup because I don't see why he wouldn't keep getting in there. Um, as for the division, some stuff going around. The Cardinals continue to win.
Yeah.
They're looking really good. I mean, mostly carried by Nolan Arenado because the
Yeah.
offense overall isn't hitting that well,
Hmm.
but Arenado is killing it. Um, and the Brewers staff starting to look more like themselves. Um, Corbin Burns pitching a little better, and then in general though, the Pirates 8-8. I mean, if you like, that's crazy to me because of like they're supposed to be the worst team in the division.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's gonna be the Reds. I mean, so so far they're pretty bad, and honestly, I didn't think they would be this bad, right? I mean, going into the season, I knew they were going to be one of the bottom two teams of the division, but man, I mean, it's really tough.
Tough
What have you
time.
seen? Is there anything that surprised you of the division so far, or is it just as you expected?
It's pretty much as I expected. I'm not surprised by the Cardinals at all. Honestly, not too surprised by the Reds either. They did really kind of jump ship this offseason, pretty much shipping all of their guys. And you see, obviously, Red fans are very upset with this right now. Wanting them to sell the team and everything. And not too surprised with this. I still think it's kind of a neck and neck thing with the Pirates and the Cubs. These are two teams that are very, very similar. Um, I still think the Cubs are the better team, just in terms of putting something together on the field and staying consistent. That's where they struggle. Uh, the Pirates are the Pirates. I really like Brian Hayes. He's not surprising me at all. I've been loving what I've been seeing out of him. One of the things that I'm noticing about him as a player is that he's just very, very calm. He's calm at the plate. He's calm defensively. He doesn't really show a lot of emotion in times where maybe a lot of players are going to get a little bit rattled in that moment. Um, yeah, not too surprised. Not too surprised. I think it's not too much of a secret that the NL Central isn't the most competitive division right now. But I think that all changes in a few years as these young guys come up and the Cubs will get back to where they used to be. I don't think the Reds are going to stay bad forever. The Cardinals are never going to go anywhere ever. It's just not in their DNA as an organization. So, you know, not too surprised by certain things I'm seeing, but this is a very young division that's going to be very entertaining in like 2-3 years.
No, definitely. Yeah, I agree. And the thing also, a couple other notes on the series against the Pirates. The Pirates actually had the worst run differential in a 4-game series in MLB history and still
Yeah,
won the series 3 games to one.
yeah,
So I think that's insane. And yeah, and another thing too, I want to go back to the swing rate thing too. Is I also saw another stat too. It said that the Cubs had a 10.2 swing rate, which is in the upper third of the majors. So yeah,
yeah.
so Sunday in general out of character, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think a guy
Yeah.
like like with Suzuki and like I said, Rivas and stuff like that, those guys I think
Mhm.
help out the lineup overall. Nico
Yeah.
Horner as well. It's good to see. But yeah, for the division, yeah, I still see the Brewers winning the division when it comes down to it. Um, I mean, and we talked about it too. It's like for them, it's not even their hitting; it's just their pitching. As long as their pitching's there, they got to score a few runs. And guys like Rowdy Tellez and Willie Adames, I mean, they're just getting it done, and that's what I expected. And the thing is, a lot of people also see them, getting a bat, in July, and
Yeah.
that is going to help out a lot. And there's plenty of guys available out there. I mean, if the Twins, I mean, the Twins are doing well right now, but if the Twins are out of it by then, I could totally see the Brewers going out there and getting Correa. I mean, it's just
100%.
they and that would change the whole National League. So yeah, I think the division still has a lot of ways to go this season to see who's gonna be where and what position. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely entertaining in general, and we'll see where it goes. The
Yeah.
Cubs have the Braves this week, and they have those Brewers. What do you expect out of these series, and what is probably the most exciting point out of those series?
Yeah. I think it might be a long road trip, which is okay. Um, these are two very talented, competitive teams that the Cubs are about to go against. You know, talking about Matt Olson. I think it's cool that we have Sean Newcomb now. It's the, the Braves. The Braves as a culture, as a team, they're very high on their beliefs and their tradition. And how they go about their business every single game. This is a team that is still very competitive, and I said it in the beginning. So we might have to just expect a long series coming from them. I'm a big Ozzy Albies fan. Marcell Ozuna is still somewhat of a decent hitter. Defensively, I've never been a big fan of him in the outfield. Just it'll be interesting. And I think when we go to Milwaukee, those games might be competitive, but the Brewers are truthfully they're the better team. They're the better team by a good amount. I think the Cubs might have a little bit of a tough time on this road trip, but just anything can happen.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, uh, the thing is, the Braves haven't been doing so well either. Back-to-back series loss, but
Yeah,
I was thinking like they're probably gonna find their feet sometime, and
yeah,
it could be against us. So,
yeah.
so I'm like,
Usually
of
how it
course,
goes, man. It's
yeah,
usually how
yeah,
it goes.
yeah. I'm like perfect. They're probably like perfect timing. We're facing the Cubs. We got a struggling Stroman in game one. Like, yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting. It's gonna be
yeah,
interesting. But hey, hopefully we're wrong.
yeah.
All right, we'll move over to the south side of Chicago, where another struggling team is the White
My
Sox.
gosh.
Whew, 6-9. Lost the series to the Cleveland Guardians, 3-0. One game was postponed. They lost. They got swept in a doubleheader as well. They also got swept by the Twins. So yeah, a couple of notes on the White Sox overall. AJ Pollock came off the injured list, so that's a plus. But Luis Robert goes down and Eloy Jimenez goes down. Obviously, with Robert, it's not that serious. It's a groin injury. He's not on the injured list. But Eloy Jimenez, he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, that's a huge blow for them.
Big blow.
And yeah, so the White Sox, I mean, where they're at right now, they don't need any more injuries, and it looks like to just keep piling on. And it doesn't help. Also, you're throwing guys out there. For a rotation that is well respected, Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease, like obviously Giolito's back and he did well, but you're throwing out there Dallas Keuchel. It's tough. I mean, when he's giving up 9 runs in an inning, to those Guardians, and I remember you
Yeah.
texting me because that was a ridiculous, like, what was going on.
Oh my
I wasn't,
gosh.
yeah, I wasn't like looking at the score, keeping up with that game at the time, and I'm just like, what in the world? I was like, is this a typo?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
But
crazy. As I'm
yeah,
watching it, he's just leaving pitches over the plate over and over and over again. Guys are just tattooing him. Nothing of what he was throwing that game was competitive. Nothing at all. I think even like a college or high school team would have been hitting him hard. There was nothing competitive about the pitches that he was throwing, and there were a few errors. Accredited to Tim Anderson, and it's very. I don't think all the blame should be put on just one player when I looked at that start, but that was that was bad. I thought that was really bad, and kind of how he kind of didn't take, I don't know, accountability for it as well, and kind of pointed the finger a little bit at his teammates. But I don't know, man. I don't know. That doesn't help. That doesn't help your team at all, especially a struggling team. Everyone has to come together in some sort of way. Now more than ever, you're trying to set the tone for the rest of the season. So it's crazy.
no, yeah, and this thing too is like, uh, the White Sox. Those errors have been piling up. I mean, they have 18 on
Yeah.
the season. They lead the majors,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 4 in that series against the Twins. And Tim Anderson is a guy who prides himself on the improvement of his defense over his career. I mean, that guy at the beginning of his career with the White Sox, he had a tough time at short, and had kind of was playing it like he is now.
Yeah.
But I think he'll regroup and get it done. But yeah, it seems it's kind of been contagious for the White Sox when it comes to these errors, when it comes to the lack of hitting, and with guys like Jose Abreu and stuff like that. I saw something too. It's just the guys that are making a lot of money on the White Sox are just not getting it done at the moment. And then it also doesn't help get when when you're losing. The controversy doesn't help either, and you had Tim Anderson. Speaking of Tim Anderson again, he had he was suspended for a game for flicking off the fans. So it's tough. You also have Lucas Giolito. Lucas Giolito came back and he had he was great in his return, striking out 9, but it was overshadowed by the fact that Byron Buxton just had another amazing game because when
Had
that
a
guy
monster
plays,
season.
when that guy, man, when I'm telling you, when that, and I've heard it from multiple people, like talking about baseball, like, man, when this guy's on, he's an MVP. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
this guy plays like 130, 135 games, I had a buddy tell me he's
Hmm.
like, he's gonna be an MVP. And I'm like, yes. I mean, there's you right. You look at this guy play, and it's like there's no way. Like there's 100. That's 100% true because the dude is so nasty on both sides of
Yeah.
the ball, like
Hmm.
defensively, offensively, and that and in the 10th inning against the White Sox, he hit that ball to Cambodia, bro. You saw the home run. You saw the
Yeah,
home run
yeah.
off Liam Hendricks.
Sent it.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
It's like 467 or 470 or
Yeah,
something
yeah, it
like
was like
that.
yeah, like it was like around 460, 470. It was like, oh my goodness. Like you knew as soon as he hit it, he was just like turning around already. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that guy is, and that's the thing with Byron Buxton, guys like Byron Buxton, Jacob DeGrom. It's like, man, I don't even care if they do work on my team, man. Like if they're healthy, like
Yeah.
they're entertaining, and I want to see
Yeah.
that happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to see those guys go
Yeah.
off. Um, Another thing too
Absolutely.
is I don't know if you've seen, but how mad White Sox fans are at Tony La Russa in general. I mean, this is not the first time. Obviously, it's not the first time, especially after a series in Minnesota, as we saw what happened last year with Mercedes.
Yeah.
But uh, what are your concerns with Tony La Russa from your personal view? Like a lot of people were talking about, oh, like they just they don't like his lineup construction. They don't like his pitching decisions. For example, on that 3-1 pitch to Byron Buxton, a lot of people thought, hey, you could have walked him. You had one out, two guys on
Yeah.
in the 10th to fill up the bases. Luis Ariz was on deck. Oh, yeah. What are your overall concerns? What do you think about Tony La Russa and his position right now?
It's not good. It's not good at all. You could look back on last year, losing that series with that talented team. Now you're not off to a good start. Not making good decisions, really not making. I guess as a fan, for us, we decisions that we don't agree with, just as baseball fans. I think that we're not the only ones who share that sentiment. There are probably players and certain people in the upper management who are thinking to themselves or discussing little things here and there. I didn't really like LaRussa as the manager from the start, but he he started to warm up to me a lot as that season progressed last year. Still some little things here and there that I'm just like, that why stuff like that. But I don't know how well this is going to age as this game is getting younger, as the strategies are changing and this game is constantly evolving. I don't know if his style right now fits this time of baseball. That's my biggest thing. Maybe the Sox can turn around. I know they're in a tough spot right now with the injuries and just struggling, and this overall moral of the team is pretty low. Um, I don't know how much of a difference maker Larusa can be for that. So I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of it. I warmed up to him last year, like I said, but we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. So I don't know. I'm not too optimistic.
No, yeah, I mean with Tony La Russa, I agree. I mean I didn't think he was the right fit for the White Sox for a team that is very against the grain.
Yeah,
With bat flips and they talk a lot of smack, and it's a good thing for the
yeah,
sport. I mean you want to
yeah,
see that. It's the type of stuff you want to see. And
yeah,
Tony La Russa, it looked like last year he was suppressing it a little bit. It looked like, I mean, with the Yerman Mercedes thing, they were up by a lot, and they he hit a home run, and hacking it out. I think it was a position player hitting. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the White Sox are still going to be, one of the best teams in the AL Central.
yeah,
But the
for
thing
sure.
is, but the thing is, like at the end of the day, it's still going to affect them. I think we saw it last year in the postseason. Um, so I don't know if Tony La Russa is the right man for the job right now, but we'll see. I mean, I think the proof is going to be in the pudding at the end of the day with this guy.
Yeah,
But and the thing is too, another point that I keep hearing about is there's been rumors that Jerry Reinsdorf has said that one of his biggest regrets was not keeping Tony La Russa back in the day before he left for
yeah,
other teams. And that's, I mean, if I was a White Sox fan, that also would not make me angry, because it's almost like you did him a favor, just to there was no. It sounds like there was no. If that's true, it sounds like there was no baseball reasoning. It was just like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
re-sign my friend, you know, and
yeah,
so that's a little tough. But with Jerry Reinsdorf, a guy who's been, again, rumored to saying that you have to, strive for second place, keep the fan base wanting more and not to win. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if that's, the case in that. Around the division, the Twins to me right now are the Fighting Buxtons. Their pitching is a little better than we expect as of right now.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Byron Buxton, I think, is carrying the load at the moment. The Guardians hanging in there. I mean, we talked about it in our season preview. I mean, they have the pitching to survive.
mhm,
It's really just on their hitting if they're,
yeah,
but they've been doing well. I mean, the guys like Owen
mhm,
Miller,
yeah,
stuff like that. I mean, it's been cool to watch in general. But yeah, everyone in that division is underachieving, and it might be closer than we thought. But what I do find interesting too is teams like the Royals, teams like the Tigers. It looks like they're not backing down at all from the White Sox, and I think that's something to take note of right now. Like I said, ultimately, I think it'll all come down to the White Sox winning the division and teams fighting for second place, being scrappy for second place. Probably it could be easily the Twins, but
yeah,
um, yeah, no, this division is when we talked about it before too, is how
mhm,
interesting it is with all the young guys in it.
yeah.
Is there anything that you have seen so far from the young guys? They're like I said, a lot of the young guys are not playing well, like Torkelson, Bobby Witt Jr., stuff like that at the moment. But what stuff for you stands out as of right now in the American League Central?
Just the energy. This is a division that plays a lot of energy, no matter because it's so young. You know, even with players like Torkelson that are struggling, um, still playing with a lot of energy. A lot of these teams have some very very strong fan bases right now that know that they have a young team on the field that's going to eventually put it together, whether it's this year or whether it's in a year and a half. That's what I'm noticing from a lot of these teams, and kind of similar to what I was talking about with the NL Central. Right now, it's still not the most competitive division for now, just because it's so young. But I love the amount of young talent in this division. It's just even though they're struggling at the moment, players grow, you adjust, you start to figure out what things work, what things work for you, what things do not work for you. So I'm looking honestly, this should not be too discouraging to fans. It almost should be as expected. Not every young player is going to come up and have a crazy first year, have a crazy first few months. Sometimes it takes time. You got to give these players time. Some of these guys are 21, 22 years old, 23. Let them grow. Let them adjust as players. So I really like where the AL Central is heading. It's okay. It's okay for things to look the way they do right now. Just give them time. Give them time to grow. So I have confidence. I have confidence that everything's gonna, look good down the line.
Yeah, and one more thing before we move on from the White Sox,
Yeah,
or a couple of things with Liam Hendricks. I mean, it still
yeah,
seems like he's struggling, and like we said, I think we said in the last, or I said in the last one, is he's struggling, but you know what? He's getting the results, he's getting the saves.
yeah.
But like, what do you see in his stuff that has that has hindered him this season so far?
So whenever I'm watching Hendricks close out a game, I'm seeing a lot of hitters' pitches. His fastball is just as explosive as it always has been, at least from my opinion, my vantage point. Um, it's just a matter of what he's doing in the count. Sometimes I'm noticing that he's falling behind in the count, which makes us as a hitter way more comfortable. Sometimes he's missing with a breaking pitch. So for me as a hitter, if I'm seeing that, I know that you're not very confident at the moment. B, that makes me more confident. I'm less worried about striking out or whatever the result is because I know I'm kind of going to expect the fastball, somewhere in the zone because you don't want to fall behind any more than you already have. Um, and I can sense that confidence as a hitter as I'm facing you. So what I'm noticing with him a lot, just falling behind in the count. and then giving them a pitcher's pitch to try to make up for falling behind in the count. That's all it is. If he could go back to what he was doing last year, with just dominating a little more aggressively. Don't be afraid, to start off with a fastball, not down the middle, but maybe work them outside, work them up and into their hands. He's a dog. He's a bull. He's not scared of anybody. I kind of just want to see him just be a little more aggressive, uh, you know, to getting into more of a pitcher's count instead of falling behind and becoming a little more passive. That's what hurts not only him but a lot of pitchers and closers in general.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting with him, looking at his baseball savant page, uh, even last year when he was, had a great year, players are just barreling up his pitches anyways.
Yeah.
I think with him, with players like him, and it's just like outsider's perspective, it seems
Yeah.
like it seems like you could just wait for the fastball with him. He's got he's got a nasty breaking ball, but it
Mm-hmm.
almost is like sometimes you can expect. That's my guess, is like maybe you could just expect when the fastballs come in, you just whack it.
Yeah.
They also just hit the ball. They've always hit the ball hard off of him, at least in the past couple of years, I should say.
Yeah.
And they continue to do so this year. But hopefully Liam finds his feet a little better, and he's able to close out with his usual dominance. But
Yeah.
yeah, the White Sox are struggling right now, but they have a couple matchups that I think are in their favor if they can play White Sox baseball. They have the Royals for 3, then they have the
Mm-hmm.
Angels for 4. Now
Yeah.
the Royals, obviously, like we said before, Bobby Witt Jr., their stud, he's struggling right now. At the beginning of his career, it's been a couple weeks. But the Royals are just an interesting team in general. Young pitching, a couple guys in their lineup that they expect to be there for a long time. Then you got the Angels, of course, when you have two of the best, if not the two best players in baseball, Ohtani and Trout. They're continuing to do their thing. What are a few things from these two series that you expect to see? And do you think the White Sox will come out on top for both of these?
Uh, it depends on if the Sox can hit their stride. That's the main thing right now. Can the Sox hit their stride? Right now, it's not looking very good for them. And for me, it's not a sense of talent, it's just a sense of morale. Where's this team at morally? Because they're still a very talented team. I don't see why they shouldn't beat these teams that they're about to play. Um, but where they are, where's the morale at? How are they feeling going into these series? Are they able to kind of let go of the the last 2 series that just happened? Um, you know, whenever I think about the White Sox, it's just stay confident as you guys always have been. This is a team that reminds me a lot of like kind of like a very like gritty junior college baseball team that just has all the swag in the world. Um, and that's one thing I love about watching the White Sox is that they have their own personality. They go about their business. They're unapologetic for it. They should never apologize for anything. Um, so I think it's just a matter of just going into this series, just being confident, knowing what you can do on the mound, knowing what you can do at the plate. I know right now they're really struggling offensively. Um, but I just think it's a matter of how good are they feeling about themselves going into this series, um, and kind of just being able to turn the page.
No, yeah, definitely, and it's almost like the Braves thing that I was saying. It's like with the
Yeah.
White Sox is,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe they see this opportunity, to see this in the schedule as an opportunity to bounce back, to kind
Yeah.
of get their feet on the ground and get going.
Yeah.
And with the White
Sometimes you
Sox,
need that.
yeah, and with the White Sox, I feel like it's only like a matter of time. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll see what happens. Moving on to around the league, we talked about this before the show. We got a lot to talk about, and you have a lot to say. And so we'll
Hmm.
start off with our top story from around the league is Sunday Night Baseball. Now, obviously, we always wish that we're talking about baseball, like actual the game inside the game,
Yeah.
on Sunday, because obviously it being the one night where baseball has their showcase game, uh,
Hmm.
when no other games are on. And unfortunately, it was once again Angel Hernandez's night. He was the star of the show, uh, and it was a good game.
Really good
The
game.
Brewers and the Phillies were playing, and Eric Lauer had, I think, like 13 strikeouts,
Yeah.
but when you really look at it, a lot of them were just on really bad strikes. Like he pitched a great game, but a lot of those you know strikeouts were on balls that were called strikes. Um, yeah, I mean at this point, we've talked so much about Angel Hernandez, but what I want to know in your before you get your general thoughts out on Angel Hernandez is, does your approach as a hitter, does your approach change when the umpire is off his game? Like if you're if you're going up there and you're like, man, this umpire sucks, like he's bad. Are you going up there and be like, man, I gotta swing at the first or second pitch, or be patient? Like what goes on in your brain? But first, overall thoughts on Angel Hernandez.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll start with Angel. Why are you still here? Um, how much? What else do we need to see? Like, what else do we need to see? This is going on for years now. Um, Terrible, man, awful. It's and some of these calls are just not close at all. There's a difference between a close one where it's like, okay, maybe that was a little bit close to the strike zone. Okay, kind of nick the edge a little bit. No, no, Angel's like, okay, that almost hit you, strike two. And it's like, what? I'm sorry. Of course players are getting mad. Of course. And I'm so happy Schwarber said something, because he wasn't just sticking up for himself and his team. He was sticking up for the Brewers side as well. He was saying both sides has been terrible. And with Hernandez, it hasn't gotten any better. It hasn't. Um, in the real world, if you're not performing well at your job, you know, you get let go or they find someone else. I think some of these umpires are in the contract when it comes to some of this, and that I think that has a large part to do with it. But after a while, I mean, if players are getting released, you know, I don't understand why umpires aren't getting held more accountable. Some umpires uh, should not have been in the game as long as they have been. There are plenty of umpires in the minors they can call up, or whoever. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan and as a player to watch it, because you never want to see that. You keep it fair. Keep it fair. Keep it at least reasonable. With him, it's never been reasonable. It's always been pretty atrocious. He's had a few good calls actually this year. And if you've been around that long, there's many great calls that you've made. But this is different. This man has been blowing calls for years, and it hasn't gotten any better. It's only going to get worse. So as a hitter, if I'm up there, anything close, we know that anything for the umpire that seems mildly close, we have to protect it as a hitter. So we probably can't take a pitch that's outside that might seem borderline. It's probably going to get called a strike. So the best thing that we could do is try to put that ball in play, hit it hard somewhere. That's what I'm always telling my players that I'm coaching. If it's borderline, you got to protect. That's just the thing. With an umpire like that, you got to be way more protective. You cannot be selective. You just can't. Anything close, you got to put it in play, because if you take one or two of those, it's 0-2 or strike three. So you just gotta protect. The most important thing at that point, like I said earlier, put the ball in play. Do not let the umpire determine, how you get out in that situation. Hit it somewhere. Hit it somewhere. It may suck. Maybe a terrible pitch. Maybe a pitch that you don't like swinging at. If it's inside and feels close to your knees and you feel jammed, we gotta adjust as hitters. We just have to.
Yeah, and it's just yeah, and the thing with Hernandez too is I've heard with the pitch or the excuse me, the umpires, they're protected by the union. So I think
Yeah,
that's what overall is helping him
yeah,
remain in the league. So it just feels like we can't really do much there,
yeah,
unfortunately. But yeah, it is for I would imagine just for a hitter, it's annoying because I mean it's like you already go up there, you know, you're already thinking about the pitcher and what he's gonna do. You're thinking about the day that you're having already, or just the stretch that you're in. A lot of things going on. The fielding, like you got a lot of this stuff already going, around in your head. The last thing you need is the umpire in your head too. So it's tough, but you know, on the bright side, uh, you have guys that stand up for their teams like Schwarber, and that was great to
yeah,
see.
That was a good
Uh,
one.
yeah, and more lighter news, better news. Miguel Cabrera with his 3,000th career hit uh, over the weekend. But I will say this though, it was interesting because he got it against the Rockies, but he could have got it against the Yankees. But he was walked in, I believe it was in extra innings to load the bases. And a lot of people were outraged. A lot of the
Yeah.
Tigers fans, of course, mostly were like, saying, "Oh, that was bogus." Like he was, you know, they weren't given the opportunity to, see him, hit 3,000. In your view, like, what do you think the Yankee, like, if you were the Yankees manager, would you have done the same thing, or like at the end of the day, I think for me, I think it's always you're trying to win the game, right?
Yeah, you're always trying to win the game. I do believe for Boone in that situation that did make sense. Now I actually think that didn't work out for them, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't they end up driving in two or three of those runs?
Yeah, yeah. Though I believe that was the game the Yankees still lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is inconvenient, and I can understand why some fans would feel that he was doing that to avoid that opportunity for people to see it or for him to get that moment on that day. But it's just you're trying to win the game. I think it was just strategy. I don't think there was anything. It's. I can understand why it'd be annoying for Tigers fans and for baseball fans in general, but that's just strategy. That's all
Mhm.
that was.
And then another thing too that happened was the Luke Voigt and Tommy Pham situation.
Yeah,
Luke Voigt from the Padres took out Tyler Stevenson. It was a pretty tough thing to watch. Tyler Stevenson got
yeah,
hit, like, I think with Luke Voigt's shoulder, hit him in the head. He was down for a
yeah.
minute. But what was fascinating after that was the fact that Tommy Pham had some comments saying that he wanted to fight Luke Voigt. That his he that he even has a buddy that has a gym in San Diego if he wants to meet up or something like that. And I'm just like, I guess that's one way to stand up for your teammates, right?
Yeah, it's one way
Um,
to. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Also, as if the Dodgers needed any more offense, Cody Bellinger's back. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, he is absolutely murdering the ball right now. That's crazy. Also, a guy I want to talk about too is Nestor Cortez. I feel like when we talked about the Yankees in our season preview, and I remember saying, about their pitching, their pitching's underrated, underappreciated. Talk about a guy that's underappreciated, Nestor Cortez. I mean, that guy
Yeah.
is nasty on the mound, and he's also very athletic, very underrated as an athlete. And he's
Yeah.
making plays and just pitching. He's right now as you look at the numbers, he looks like the ace of the Yankees. This is a team that has Garrett Cole on there, Luis Severino. Um, when you watch a guy like Cortez, he's a little quirky with his release, and he, he's not what you expect. But what have you seen so far from a guy like Cortez in the Yankees?
Pitching with a lot of confidence. Um, that quirkiness works to his advantage so much. Um, it's funny because he even has like the batters laughing sometimes. Which in the moment it's hilarious. But to get the hitter to kind of laugh a little bit, to kind of take them out of a little bit of a serious moment or a moment of them being focused, that kind of works to his advantage a little bit. Now he's losing them up. Uh, Maybe this hitter isn't as locked in as he was when he first stepped in the batter's box. Cortez uses that to his advantage. And he's kind of sneaky with his fastball. I'm seeing him touch 94, 95 sometimes with a windup where it doesn't look like he's throwing hard, but it sneaks out of his hand. And his breaking pitches are incredible. He's locating it everywhere, and it's just fun to watch. It's just fun to watch. He's out there. He's confident. He knows that he can kind of switch it up a little bit. Fidget with his windup, do that little leg swing, that little leg kick he likes to do. Works great. Works great to him. So I'm loving that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he's a guy that always has a great K percentages, or at least going
Yeah.
back to last year.
Yeah.
And this year's got 99% as of right now. So he's,
Yeah.
making guys swing and miss and
Yeah.
setting guys down. Also, another thing on the other side of town, we have the Mets who are, playing great baseball, 13 and
Yeah.
5. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I did not expect that whatsoever. With with what was going on with injuries with DeGrom, of course, like
Yeah,
always out. Who is expected to be back soon? But Francisco Lindor looking like himself. Mad Max is Mad Max. I mean, he was nasty. They came back on the Cardinals last night, and he on Monday night, and he struck out I think like 9 or 10 batters. Um, is this the Mets team that you expect to see for the rest of the season, or are they hot, or is it one of those things where this is only the beginning, and once the Grom comes, they're gonna go off?
this is the Mets team I'm hoping to see for the rest of the season for sure. With the Grom coming back, I hope hope that adds even more to how great this team is playing. So I've always said this though. I don't want to jinx the Mets or anything. This isn't that. Um, Historically, they have blown it a lot, even when they're off to a great start. Even if they're in first place going into the All Star break, I just want to make sure. I just want to see them finish. Just finish. That's the biggest thing with the Mets. Finish. Keep the drama. Limit the drama. Whatever stuff there is, you know, they gotta just keep it baseball. Keep doing what you're doing now. Everything's gonna be great. I don't see any reason why this team is not gonna stay in first place for the rest of the season. Maybe the Braves give them a little bit more of a hard time when Acuna comes back. Um, but this team is so talented. I'm looking at this roster and just loving every single player that I'm seeing. They all fit so well. They all play their roles so well, and you know, just just finish. Keep everything else outside of it at a minimum. Just play baseball.
Yeah, and I think watching the Mets play, one of the guys that really stands out to me is a guy that um maybe not necessarily change the culture, but change their lineup or to help them in little ways is like guy like Mark Canha. I feel like he's one of those players that everyone wants on their team. He can play multiple positions, and he just goes up there and always has a competitive at bat. And this is a guy that
Yeah,
you want to see on your team. And I feel like it's been up and down the lineup. I mean, you guys got obviously you have guys like Nimmo and guys like McNeil in that lineup. And yeah, if everyone hits in that lineup is pretty good.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
Marte is hasn't hit just quite yet. Um, but yeah, when they get going, and they have guys like Edwin Diaz in the bullpen, and to continue to close out games, they're gonna be there, when it comes down to it in the end. So, yeah, I do expect the Braves to be better.
Mhm.
I do, still see them, finishing atop the division.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of time to left, a lot of thing to, and the thing is too with the Mets too that I wanted to say is they're third in the National League in run differential. And take that with a grain of salt, obviously, because the Cubs are like fourth or fifth, I think, with
yeah,
19. But it is interesting for a team like that to get off to a hot start. And for me, I know for me, if you're a Mets fan, I'm sure you're thinking, when is it gonna go downhill? Um, but on the bright side, you got Jacob DeGrom coming back soon, so that'll be good to see, good for baseball, and good, better for the Mets.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that just about wraps it up for this week for At Bat Baseball Podcast. I am Saul Rodriguez with Miles Porter. We'll see you next week and enjoy another week of baseball, guys.